Hello everyone, it's Everything Buzzity here, back again with another video. And today we will be making a tier list about the 2023 to 2024 Charlotte Hornet roster. Now, as you can tell, we have a bunch of tiers. Alright, first off, we will start at the top. Face of the franchise is the best player on the team. Then you have the next best. Then we have the most improved player watch. Potential starter tier. Rotational players. Need another year. And show me something now. Without further ado, let's get into it. To start out, we have LaMelo Ball. It's obvious. Face of the franchise. Okay, this guy has been the best player on this team for last 2 years, I'd say. I think this year's going to be his coming out party. Last year we saw statistically him improve on almost all areas of the game, except for shooting percentages because we just weren't healthy. But this year I'm expecting big things from LaMelo Ball. Like I've said before, 25, 8 and 6 type of season. He's going to have much improved supporting cast. You're going to have Cody Martin back. You're going to have Brandon Miller with that second overall pick, who's going to be an absolute sniper. Maybe not this year, but definitely next year. Nick Smith Jr., I think, is everything James Bouknight was supposed to be. We'll get into that in a little bit. He's going to have Terry Rozier. Terry did have he wasn't as healthy as he usually is. He's going to have his main man, Miles Bridges, who, although he is a slasher, he can step out and make that three-point shot. So big things from LaMelo Ball. Next up, we have P.J. Washington. I think P.J., I'm up between these two. I'm up between rotational player and a potential starter. I don't think PJ is rotational. I think he's a potential starter tier, given that two things can happen here. Let's say Gordon Hayward goes down, right, early in the year, and you don't feel Brandon Miller is ready yet, okay? Well, something you can do is you can play Miles Bridges. You can slide him over to the 3 and play PJ Washington at that 4 spot. He's a three-point shooter. He's probably one of our best defenders on the team, and he can play small ball 5. And again, he has a perfect chemistry with LaMelo Ball. PJ, great chemistry. Mark Williams, great chemistry. You got Miles Bridges, great chemistry. That is actually pretty good, but it all depends on what Steve Clifford wants to do with the lineup once Miles Bridges comes back. All in all, he is a starter caliber player on the low end of NBA teams. But for us to make a playoff push, I do think he is a rotational guy, but he is a starter caliber player. Now, Kai Jones. I think for Kai, it's show me more now. He really hasn't shown me anything in his 2 years in Charlotte. He only averaged, I believe it was 3 points per game and 2 rebounds last season. He struggles to stay in games, but one thing Kai does have is I have seen sparks, or little flashes, small flashes of defensive skill. Haven't seen much on the offensive end. He's been working on that three-point shot, and really that's his, I think, the only way for him to stay another year on this roster is if he adds that 3, because we really don't have any stretch big centers on the squad. But defensively, he's shown me he's very athletic. He's really athletic. He's able to get blocks. He's able to get rebounds. Well, he should be able to get rebounds, but he doesn't really box out. There's the highlights you see, like the dunk on Wemby that was electric. You're like, oh my God, why isn't this guy getting minutes? He's getting buried in Charlotte. Well, because he's not playing good. You can't play somebody who in 15 minutes gets 5 freaking fouls. It's impossible. It's impossible. And a great game by Kai standards is 6 points and 5 rebounds. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I need more from him or he is off the roster next year. And I don't think that is a wild take or a hot take. Next, my man, my favorite player in the entire NBA, Mark Williams. Now, I think he earns most improved player for the squad next season. I think this guy's going to go from season averages 9.7 rebounds to a guy who's averaging 12, 14 points and 10 rebounds. And defensively, he's going to have even more of an impact because of that second season and him getting stronger. Mark is probably, he was, whenever you look at the advanced stats, he was one of the best centers in the entire NBA, and definitely one of the better young centers in last year's draft class that is now looking to be really stacked. You know, you have Walker Kessler, you have Mark Williams, you have Jalen Duren. All three of those guys are going to be all-star caliber talents in the near future. But anyways, great defender, we all know that, but offensively, he does have skills, around the rim. He can finish strong. He also has been working a little bit on his post game. I think that's something he really needs to improve on, take a next jump. And also, I like to see him be a two-level guy where he can pick and pop in the mid-range game or even step out to the three-point line, which would be even better because really the league now, efficient three-point shooting helps so much in this league. And that's one way Mark can hit that next level. And I expect him to. I expect him to be maybe an all-star one day. Here, Nick Richards, I think it's clear, rotational player. We have one of the best center rotations in the entire NBA with Mark Williams and Nick Richards. Both of them complement each other so well. You have Mark Williams, he's a defensive stopper, and he's more of a defensive rebounder than an offensive rebounder, while you have Nick Richards, who's one of the best, he was one of the best offensive rebounders last season and is not too bad defensively. He's really good at letting guys get by him and blocking their shot off of the backboard. And really, everything that Mark Williams kind of struggles at, Nick Richards is able to come in and fill that gap, which is perfect. So yeah, he will take the first spot as a rotational player. Brandon Miller, clearly potential starter tier. To start out, I think Gordon Hayward should get the start if you're going to run Miles Bridges at that 4 spot. And even so, he does have a 10-game suspension. But after that, I think Gordon should get ran beside Miles Bridges. And if you feel like you want to start PJ, then slide Hayward off the bench. But I think from a positional standpoint of you have so many small forwards, you have Cody Martin, you have Bryce McGowan, you have Brandon Miller, you have Gordon Hayward. To fit those minutes in is going to be really difficult. So I think it's better to have that small forward spot, someone come off as a starter, either Gordon or Brandon. But to start out his career, I don't think Brandon should get that start. I think he should be worked into it, kind of like how LaMelo Ball was. But big things for Brandon. I think he's going to be a really great scorer in this league. You go and you look at his tape offensively, so much reminds me of Paul George when he was young. And that shot is just absolutely beautiful. That is one of the prettiest shots I've ever seen. I might be glazing right now, but all I'm trying to say is he has the potential to be a really good player, not just a average player like those NBA critics or NBA Twitter was saying that Scoot Henderson is going to be this and Brandon is just going to be a CJ Miles or something. This guy can legit be a 20-point-per-game career guy. I'm very excited to see what he does, and I'm going to love to see that pick and roll, that pick and pop action with LaMelo Ball and Brandon Miller. And Brandon Miller has shown me that he can actually play make. So let's say LaMelo Ball is off of the court. You can have Brandon Miller in time, not to start out his career, of course, but in time, him be able to run pick and roll actions. Him be able to do that. You saw that in the Summer League. They were going to Brandon Miller rather than a James Bouknight or a Amari Bailey. But yes, I do think he has the potential to be a starter on this team. Cody Martin, rotational player. Has more veteranship than Bryce McGowan's. Prototypical 3-and-D player, great three-point shooter, and a pretty solid defender. The question is can he have that efficiency he had before his knee injury? Knee injuries are big, and he had that surgery, and sometimes that takes a couple seasons to get back to the point that you were at. I'm hoping the best for Cody. NC State, I love my North Carolina State guys. Dennis Smith Jr., Caleb Martin, Cody Martin, you name it, man. I love those guys. So I hope the best for him. Bryce McGowan's. I think injury, he's not a guy where I'm like, oh yeah, he definitely needs a year. He can be a rotational player. I think Bryce can either play that 2 or you have Cody play that 2 as the backup. He's talented slasher. He's really good at slashing to the ball. I do think he needs a little bit more development, but as a rotation from a guy who can play 15 minutes per game, I think he can do that. He reminds me, from the standpoint, he was a second-round pick, kind of around the same level that Jalen McDaniels was. I just view McGowan's as a much better offensive talent, even though Jalen probably has a little bit better of a defensive peak. McGowan's can and does have that potential from the length perspective of him being able to be a two-way player, which in the NBA, that is a very important thing for role players to have. Nick Smith Jr., he could be rotational his first season, and probably later in the year, you'll see him get that opportunity, especially with injuries happening. But I'm going to say another year. I think he's going to spend half of that season, and he should spend kind of like how Mark Williams was. I think he should get the same treatment Mark got last season, except I don't expect him being a starter, of course. He has a little bit in his game that does need improving. Decision-making, passing. There's a couple of times on drives where you kind of know what he's doing. You can predict him. He's pretty predictable. So he needs a little bit more honing, a little bit more development on that end. But I think Nick Richards was a huge steal. Thank you, Mitch, for drafting Nick Smith Jr. He was a steal. Probably one of the best picks we've had in a while. And I hope I don't regret saying that. But I do not think I will. I think he's super talented as a player. It's just injuries. That's going to be something to watch throughout his career. Hopefully he doesn't have that injury bug. Now, guys, there are 2 Mark Williams, so we're just going to slide you back to here. That kind of confused me there. Gordon Hayward. This is what we're going to do. Potential starter. I think he's a potential starter. He's not a lock as a starter. He's at the tail end of his career, but what I like about Gordon Hayward is he kind of does everything. He does everything above average to good, but he's not a specialized player at all. Good 16, 5-5 guy as a starter, even today. The reason why I put potential starter, because we don't know what the rotation is going to be like. We don't know what Steve Clifford is going to do. But I will say this, Gordon Hayward is a candidate for our 6-man this season. With drafting small forward at some point, Brandon Miller will probably be moved to that starter role, and Gordon Hayward will be that 6-man getting like 26, 28 minutes per game. JT Thor, another year. I think he needs another year. Didn't have that production that you want to see from a 2-year guy, from not really scoring. That's not really what I'm talking about. I'm talking about efficiency, your shooting percentage in that corner from that 3. That is what Steve Clifford wants JT to do, and he needs to be shooting like 35, 38% compared to 32, 30% from last season. I need that, but JT, I love his potential defensively as a 3-and-D athletic wing who can kind of be like a PJ Washington, except less, not as good as PJ Washington. But he needs one more year, but I'm coming up to that point where I need to see the production. I need to see you show me a little bit more than what you have been. Terry Rozier, top 3 player on this team. I think that's a given. It's a toss-up between Miles Bridges and Terry Rozier right now. A lot of Hornets fans want to move on from Terry. Again, I want to stress this. This guy is a really good NBA starter. All right, I believe I looked at it. If you take every season from Terry Rozier, he's basically averaging 20 points per game as a Charlotte Hornet. He has elevated his game from how he played in Boston so much, and I'm so happy for him. I do think relatively soon he will be traded, but let's not forget what this guy did for us 2 years ago. He was a major reason why we won a lot of those games. He was Scary Terry for a reason, because when when you needed a shot, when we were down 1, we were down 2, or we were up 1, or we were up 2, with a minute left, 2 minutes left, I knew getting the ball to Terry Rozier in that corner, off that inbound, him fading away to his left, he was going to knock that down 9 times out of 10. So don't forget who Terry Rozier is, guys. He is a really good NBA player, and on playoff teams, championship contending teams, he's a 6-man caliber dude. He can come off the bench, and he's going to be a very important player, or even possibly a starter. I think he could be. Miles Bridges. He didn't play last year, but I'm still saying this. I think he's still, even though his production will probably be down to from 20 to like a 16.5, 18 point per game dude, he's still super talented in the pick and roll. He's still super talented on corner threes. He has that special connection with LaMelo Ball, and he's playing for a contract. So he's going to want the ball out. So it's very important for him to prove to us why we should give him Gordon Hayward's contract. Yes, I said that. I think he deserves 25 to 30 million if he's able to put in that production. James Bouknight, oh yeah, he's off the team next year. If he don't do something, and he's gonna have to do anything. James Bouknight, there's so many times he has. It's one of the craziest things I've ever seen, and it's a sad thing in pro sports. Players have the ability to go make bank, to go out for 4 years, produce, and get generational wealth that takes care of their family and the family after that. Like I said, James Bouknight has that ability to be a good player. The problem is he's just unable to do it. He's unable to figure things out. I don't know what it is. There's multiple times where he has the ball, he gets the ball, he's breaking his defender down, he has a lane. Instead of pushing by his man, beating his man to the spot, blow by, get to the rim, which is why he was drafted 12th overall in the entire draft, he does a stupid step back 3 and he bricks it 8 times out of 10. It doesn't make any sense to me. James, you have to do something this year. Your NBA career is on the line, man. I don't want to see you out the league, but it's getting to that point, man. Come on, dude. Do better. Frank Ntilikina, yeah, I'll throw him rotational. He is the backup point guard for now. It's not guaranteed, so we're not too sure what's going to happen there. Maybe they scoop up Teo, but he'll only be getting like 12 minutes per game. LaMelo will be playing a ton, so I'm not too worried about that. He's a really good mid-range shooter and a solid on-ball defender. That's about all I got to say about him. Anyways, this is the tier list. We have LaMelo Ball as the face of the franchise. The next best, Terry Rozier and Miles Bridges. The most improved player watch is Mark Williams. Potential starter tier, PJ Washington, Brandon Miller, and Gordon Hayward. Rotational players, Nick Richards, Cody Martin, Bryce McGowan, and Frank Ntilikina. Need another year, Nick Smith Jr. and JT Thor. Show me something now. I have Kai Jones and James Bouknight. And I'll list the two-way players, of course. I'm going to put Amari Bailey, need another year. Developmental pick. That's clear. That's what that was. And then I'd say show me something now for Leaky Black because he is an undrafted two-way player. So he's going to have to show this organization something this season in the G League. Anyways, guys, this is all I got for you. Thank you for the support. Leave a comment, like, subscribe. Can we get to 60 subscribers? You know what I'm saying? Just... let's see. Leave a comment. Tell me how I did. Tell me what I got wrong. Until next time, this is Everything Buzz City here, and I'm out.